We're doing physical issues right now.
Okay.
So what have you got? What have you got for me?
I've got a funny feeling in my throat and stomach.
A funny feeling in my throat and stomach.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you say you've got that funny feeling in your throat and stomach,
Yeah.
focus on the throat first.
Okay. Yep.
Describe for me in more details what that funny feeling is.
It's like when you swallow a lump of something and it doesn't quite go down.
Right. So how long have you had that there for?
About a year.
And can you remember the first time you felt it?
The first time I felt it was actually associated with Helicobacter, which is the little bacteria that sits in your stomach. And so I was treated for that and it went away. And then it came back and I thought, oh, well, then that's what it is. So then I had it treated again and had it tested again, had an endoscopy, definitely not there. Still got the symptom.
Right. So for me, intuitively, what's coming up is the endoscopy.
Yeah.
How does that explain how that happens?
That happens with a tube going down your throat with a little camera on the end of it and has to look around your stomach. And then they put a little other instrument down there with little pin stairs and they take a little bit of your tissue from your stomach and they check to see whether there's any bacteria in it.
So what was it like when they put that down your throat?
I was under anaesthetic. So I don't really remember. I wasn't sore
you were
afterwards.
asleep.
I was asleep.
Completely anaesthetised.
Yeah. Or they don't completely anaesthetise you so you can still breathe on your own.
Right.
They give you a drug so you can't remember.
Okay. Even though
My
my mind can't remember.
my mind can't remember.
I was partly anaesthetised
I was partly anaesthetised
when I had the endoscopy,
when I had the endoscopy,
but my body remembers
but my body remembers
the feeling of that camera going down my throat.
the feeling of that camera going down my throat,
Like a lump stuck in my throat.
like a lump stuck in my throat.
When they were testing something out of my stomach.
They were testing the bacteria out of my
Bacteria.
stomach.
I accept myself
I accept myself
and my body's memory.
and my body's memory.
This feeling that I've had for about a year.
This feeling that I've had for about a year.
Since around the time I had that endoscopy.
Since around the time I had that endoscopy.
I accept myself and my body.
I accept myself and my body.
Deeply and completely.
Deeply and completely.
No wonder I've got the feeling in my throat and my stomach.
No wonder I've got the feeling in my stomach and my throat.
I thought it was gone.
I thought it was gone.
They thought it was gone.
They thought it was gone.
But I still had the symptoms.
But I still had the symptoms.
It went away.
It went away.
Then it came back.
And then it came back.
And they gave me that endoscopy.
And then they gave me that endoscopy.
Imagining what that feels like.
Imagining what that feels like.
If I was awake.
If I was awake.
My mind wasn't.
My mind wasn't.
But my body was.
But my body was.
My body has a memory of that thing going down my throat.
My body has a memory of that thing going down my throat.
It must have felt like there was something in my throat that I couldn't swallow.
There must have felt like something in my throat that I couldn't swallow.
That I still have to this day.
That I still have to this day.
I accept my body.
I accept my body.
And this feeling.
And this feeling.
And I let my body know it's safe to release it now.
And I let my body know it's safe to release it now.
All the way back to when I had that endoscopy.
All the way back to when I had that endoscopy.
When I had that thing in my throat.
When I had that thing in my throat.
And it felt like a lump that I couldn't swallow.
And it felt like a lump that I couldn't swallow.
All the way down to my stomach.
All the way down to my stomach.
This feeling connecting my stomach and my throat.
This feeling connecting my stomach and my throat.
That lump in my throat.
That lump in my throat.
Like it's something there that I can't swallow.
Like it's something there that I can't swallow.
Processing and releasing it.
Processing it and releasing it.
From my throat and my stomach.
From my throat and my stomach.
All the way back to that endoscopy.
All that way back to that endoscopy.
When my body remembered it.
When my body remembered it.
Even though my mind was asleep.
Even though my mind was asleep.
That body reflex.
That body reflex.
Something in my throat.
That's something in my throat.
Like a lump I can't swallow.
Like a lump that I can't swallow.
Releasing it and letting it go.
Releasing it and letting it go.
All the way back to the endoscopy.
All the way back to the endoscopy.
All the way back to my throat and my stomach.
All the way back to my throat and my stomach.
When it first happened.
When it first happened.
Processing and releasing it all now.
Processing it and releasing it now.
It's safe for my throat to feel something there.
It's safe for my throat to feel something there.
And to swallow it now.
And to swallow it now.
It's not stuck there now.
It's not stuck there now.
So tune into the throat in particular. Was that ringing true for what I was saying with the endoscopy?
Yeah, I think it's earlier though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what else was coming up?
I was in the moment of remembering, and
Tap way down.
nothing really else came up other than the sensations eased a bit. But it's still there. Yeah.
So even though the sensations eased a bit,
Even though the sensations eased a bit,
but it's still there,
but it's still there.
and I think it comes from earlier.
I think it comes from earlier.
I'm asking my body to show me where it comes from,
I'm asking my body to show me where it comes from,
so I can dissolve it once and for all.
so I can dissolve it once and for all.
Even though it's, what did you say, come down a bit, diminished a
Even
bit,
it's come down a bit initially,
but I still feel it in my throat.
but I still feel it in my throat.
And I think it's from way earlier.
I think it's from way earlier.
I thank my body for showing this to me,
I thank my body for showing this to me,
so I can process and release it.
so I can process and release it.
I wonder where it comes from.
I wonder where it comes from.
I had this flash of it occurring earlier.
I had this flash of it occurring earlier.
Something stuck in my throat like I can't swallow.
Something stuck in my throat where I can't swallow.
I wonder where it comes from.
I wonder where it comes from.
Imagining me as a young person
Imagining me as a young person
with something stuck in my throat and I can't swallow it.
with something stuck in my throat and I can't swallow it.
I wonder where that comes from.
I wonder where that comes from.
Instructing my body to process and release it wherever it comes from.
Instructing my body to process it and release it wherever it comes from.
All the way back to its origin.
All the way back to its origin.
Wherever that comes from.
Wherever that comes from.
That sensation in my throat.
That sensation in my throat.
Something stuck in it and I can't swallow.
Something stuck in it and I can't swallow.
I'm safe.
I'm safe.
Releasing it and letting it go.
Releasing it and letting it go.
That sensation out of my throat.
That sensation out of my throat.
All the way back to the first time I felt it.
All the way back to the first time I felt it.
All the way back to its origin.
All the way back to its origin.
Thanking my throat for holding on to it.
Thanking my throat for hanging on to it.
But it's okay to release it now.
But it's okay to release it now.
And I instruct my throat to release it.
And I instruct my throat to release it.
All the way back to the first time I felt it.
All the way back to the first time I felt it.
So did anything come up?
Oh, just a kind of vague sensation, really. Like little, nothing clear. Just, gaggy kid, little baby gag kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Little snapshots of being fed. And texture.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff.
Yeah, and gagging.
Gagging, yeah.
So how does it feel now that you've gone all the way back there to release it?
It feels like that's kind of where I need to go with it.
Yep. Okay.
So, yeah.
Has it come down? How's the sensation there now?
It's still there, but it's not as angry. Is the word.
Okay.
So it's not as inflamed. Yeah.
Even though I have that sensation in my throat,
Even though I have that sensation in my throat,
it's not as angry or inflamed,
and it's not as angry or inflamed,
and it goes all the way back to when I was a baby,
and it goes all the way back to when I was a baby,
feeling that textury, lumpy thing in my throat,
feeling that textury, lumpy thing in my throat,
not really knowing how to get it up or down.
not really knowing how to get it up or down.
I accept myself
I accept myself
and this baby feeling
and this baby feeling
still trapped in my throat.
still trapped in my throat.
And I ask my throat to process and release it
And I ask my throat to process and release it.
all the way back to when I was a baby.
All the way back to when I was a baby.
These flashes of seeing me as a baby,
These flashes of seeing me as a baby.
the different textures in my throat,
The different textures in my throat.
having trouble swallowing,
Having trouble swallowing.
that gagging response.
That gagging response.
I can still feel it in my throat.
I can still feel it in my throat.
That texture in my throat.
That texture in my throat. No, it is pharynx.
It's pharynx.
It's a lump of pharynx.
It's a lump of pharynx.
Yeah.
I can still taste
I
it.
can still taste it.
That texture.
Chalky.
That chalky, it just wasn't dissolved properly.
Nah.
That chalky,
Gaggy.
gaggy, stuck in my throat.
Yeah.
I can still feel it.
I can still feel it.
Tapping on that little baby,
Tapping on that little baby.
releasing that pharynx out of her throat.
Releasing the pharynx out of her throat.
Giving her a drink to let
Giving
it
her a
slide
drink.
down. Allowing it to slide down easily.
And allowing it to slide down easy.
That yucky, lumpy pharynx.
That yucky, lumpy pharynx.
Letting her know I'll make sure it's all mixed properly next time.
Letting her know I'll mix it properly next time.
And she'll be okay.
And she'll be alright.
Releasing that gagging feeling.
Releasing that gagging feeling.
That horrible dry pharynx stuck feeling.
The horrible pharynx stuck feeling.
Releasing it out of her throat.
Releasing it out of her throat.
Letting my throat know
Letting my throat know.
it's time to process and release that feeling.
It's time to process and release that feeling.
All the way back to that baby.
All the way back to that baby.
When I first felt it.
When I first felt it.
Processing and releasing that dry pharynx lumpy feeling.
Processing that dry, lumpy pharynx feeling.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so take a deep breath. How does that feel now?
That's better.
Yep.
Yeah. It's still there, but it's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say it's still there, what exactly is there?
It's the size is reduced and the intensity is reduced. So it's still there, but the volume of it's changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It
Okay.
feels like I need to digest something.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like.
Even though I'm still digesting that lumpy bit of pharynx,
Even though I'm still digesting that lumpy bit of pharynx
and it has moved down,
and it has moved
no
down,
wonder my stomach's feeling it as well.
no wonder my stomach's feeling it as well.
My body's processing it.
My body is processing it.
It takes a bit longer
It takes a bit longer.
when it hasn't been mixed
It
up.
hasn't been mixed up.
That dry lumpy pharynx.
That dry, lumpy pharynx.
My throat and my stomach are still processing.
My throat and my stomach are still processing.
I accept myself
I accept myself
deeply and completely.
deeply and completely.
My body's still processing that pharynx.
My body's still processing that pharynx.
When I was just a baby,
When I was just a baby,
all the anger that my mum didn't mix it up properly,
all the anger that my mum didn't mix it up properly,
all my reaction,
all my reaction,
that texture,
that texture,
that dry lumpy texture.
that dry, lumpy texture.
It's so hard to swallow.
It's so hard to swallow.
I'm still trying to digest it.
I'm still trying to digest it.
Uh-huh. What is it?
She's cross.
She's cross with
She's
me.
cross with me because I haven't swallowed it.
She's cross with me because I haven't swallowed it.
Yeah, she's really cross.
I can still see her cross
I can still
face,
see her cross face.
her cross voice.
Yeah.
She's cross with me. I'm trying to
She's
swallow it,
cross with me. I'm trying to swallow it.
but it's dry and lumpy.
It's dry and lumpy.
I'm still trying to digest it.
I'm still trying to digest it.
Just give me some water.
Just give me some water.
This lumpy,
This lumpy,
dry,
yucky
pharynx.
pharynx.
yucky stuff, and Mum's cross with me.
Yeah, mum's cross with me.
And I can feel it in my throat and my stomach.
I can feel it in my throat and my stomach.
And I want to process and release that now.
I want to process and release that now.
That feeling of not being understood.
That feeling of not being understood.
Mum's angry with me.
Mum's angry with me.
She's really cross with me.
She's really cross with me.
And I feel helpless
I feel helpless
with this lumpy stuff stuck in my throat.
with this lumpy stuff stuck in my throat.
She's angry with me for not swallowing it.
She's angry with me for not swallowing it.
I can see her cross face.
I can see her cross face.
Processing and releasing
Processing and releasing.
my reaction to Mum's cross face.
My reaction to mum's cross face.
I'm doing the best I can.
I'm doing the best I can.
You made the lumpy face.
You made it.
Processing and releasing my reaction
Processing and releasing my reaction
to Mum's crossness.
to mum's crossness.
Sending it back to where it belongs.
Sending it back to where it belongs.
She should be cross with herself.
She should be cross with herself.
She doesn't even know how to mix up
She
pharynx.
doesn't even know how to mix up pharynx.
Sending that cross feeling back to her.
Sending that cross feeling back to her.
Processing and releasing it from my little body.
Processing it and releasing it from my little body.
Even when I see Mum's cross face.
Even when I see mum's cross face.
How does that feel? Oh, really sneezed.
Yeah, that's better. That's definitely what it was.
Mm. Okay, so we started with throat,
Yeah,
but it was throat and
and
stomach.
stomach. Yeah,
Both okay now?
yeah.
Yep.
Stomach
So they were
settled quite
connected.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's the throat, and that's it's anger.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, anger. She's cross with me. I'm
Yeah,
cross with
that's
her.
right.
Mm.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
So when you think of that anger now, is it gone? Is it back?
I think there's a
Over there.
whole lot more there.
Yeah.
But not associated with the pharynx.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Alright, we'll do one last round.
Alright.
Even though there's a whole lot more anger there.
Even though there's a whole lot more anger there.
But I'm releasing that from my throat and my stomach.
But I'm releasing that from my throat and my stomach.
Around the Farax incident.
Around the Farax incident.
And maybe I can also process the rest of it.
And maybe I can also process the rest of it.
And at least ask my body to begin to process it.
And at least ask my body to begin to process it.
Because the anger doesn't belong trapped in my body.
Because the anger doesn't belong trapped in my body.
And I want to send it back where it
I want to
belongs.
send it back where it belongs.
All the remaining anger
All the remaining anger
in my body,
in my body,
especially around my mother,
especially around my mother,
I want to send it back.
I want to send it back.
I don't want to hang on to it.
I don't want to hang on to it.
Processing and releasing the anger.
Processing and releasing the anger.
All that anger over so much other stuff.
All of that anger over so much other stuff.
Maybe I can release that too.
Maybe I can release that too.
It doesn't belong to me.
It doesn't belong to me.
All my reactions
All my
to
reactions
my mum's behaviour.
to my mum's behaviour.
Sending it back to where it belongs.
Sending it back to where it belongs.
I'm not hanging on to the anger.
I'm not hanging on to the anger.
I want to have peace in my body.
I want to have peace in my body.
Even when I think of everything related to my mother.
Even when I think of everything related to my mother.
Releasing my anger.
Releasing my anger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Much better.
Yay!